Good morning. Thank you all for being here. I will tell you this release this morning by the PCC came as a surprise to me. Police Act investigations, while they are underway, are not normally released in the media. However, we do understand this is a serious matter and have been taking it seriously from the beginning. I will say that taking it seriously started at the beginning of this matter. In the fall of 2012, two of our members came forward and said we thought we had a problem with one of our members. And their integrity showed that day, and we immediately took their concerns seriously and ended up asking Vancouver to take on an investigation into the conduct of Constable Nicholson. That 8 months later, after an undercover operation, resulted in his arrest. We have a large number of members who are under investigation right now under the Police Act. I need you to understand that if I did not have confidence in the integrity of these members, I would have suspended them. I have not done that. I have looked at the allegations against them. I'm aware of the number. I'm aware of how serious the allegations themselves are, but I'm looking at the facts, and I have confidence in my members. The Vancouver investigation looked at conduct of a number of members, and only Nicholson was charged criminally. The other 16, in my view, are great cops. They have continued to serve this community even while under investigation, and I am proud of how they have conducted themselves during difficult times. I will say that I've ensured that the members who are involved in these allegations are not continuing to do the same kind of work. So this is drug investigation work, and we have moved them to other places so that while they're under scrutiny, that they're not continuing on in this kind of work. This organization and each of those members has cooperated fully with the Police Complaint Commissioner. All the files that were in our control were turned over to Vancouver during the criminal investigation, and as much as we can control it have been turned over to the New West Police Service, who is doing the Police Act investigation. Our members are very frustrated. The investigation has been suspended 3 times by the Police Complaint Commissioner, and he is suspending, I believe, because he wants more disclosure. I get that. He has a job to do. He needs to do oversight on Police Act investigations. So he is frustrated with where that's at. I think that shows in his statement. Our members are very frustrated. They want this over and done with. I believe if we weren't having to deal with these suspensions of the process, our members would have been cleared and getting on with their professional lives and would just like to put this stuff behind them. One of the things we did as we went through this, we realized that the way we were handling informants and handling this part of our criminal investigations into drug investigations needed more scrutiny. We had Vancouver come in and separately from the criminal investigation do an audit. They provided a great audit report to us. We have implemented those recommendations. A couple of them we changed slightly, but we have taken the principles from every recommendation and implemented them. And in March, we have the police services division folks coming in to check to see that we have successfully implemented all of those things. And if they show up something that we need to change, we will do that. We've spent some time with the RCMP and asked them to review it. And every member in this organization is currently being given more training around informant handling so that we understand the new processes that are, as much as we can make them, bulletproof to the criticisms that we're receiving on this stuff. So that's what we're doing about it, is finding a way to be even better than we were before, being more professional about how we handle informants going forward, and putting in place a process where members won't make mistakes or won't be criticized for how it looks like they may have handled an informant. Now I'm going to take your questions, and as I said, I'm going to let Ian help me with that.
Great. You see John Daly's hand
John?
up first.
Chief, if the members aren't suspended and they're continuing to serve, are you down in terms of members actually out on the road?
Not at all. 17's a lot. Yeah, 17's a lot, but these members are actively engaged in police work. I didn't say I brought them inside the building. They are fighting crime. They are just not doing drug investigations.
What's the seniority level of all these different officers? Where does it range from some of these senior officers or first couple of years in the force here?
Right. Yeah, fair question, and I'm going to be difficult and not answer it because we're Police Act matters like a labor matter. If you can imagine, if you were talking to the head of Safeway right now, he's not going to tell you about what's going on in a labor investigation with his people. I'm not going to start identifying ranks and seniority, because it would start to create sort of the ability to identify people. I don't want to do that. It is a range. It goes a significant range as far as seniority goes.
So a lot of what I'm understanding you're saying is that these charges ultimately come from perhaps training not being the way it should be, and mishandling or misidentifying when they were dealing with informants? Yeah,
one of the significant issues we've realized is there was real confusion over how much you needed to say about an informant. How much of their criminal record needed to be put into the search warrant, and those kinds of things. And that's our bad as a department, as management, that we didn't provide really good clarity for our members about what our expectations were. There were other matters where there should have been 2 signatures on a piece of paper and there's only one. Those kinds of mistakes were also being made. And so we are under an incredible spotlight. This is the audit, and this investigation have sort of showed up every flaw that you can imagine that exists in the system. And so all of those things have been brought to light, and members are having to deal with the fact that they're being asked to respond to that.
So when the office says that they are not getting adequate disclosure from the APD?
Right. So it actually didn't say that. It didn't say they weren't getting adequate disclosure it says from the police. We are actually really uninvolved at this point. We are the department that's being investigated. Vancouver has all the criminal files, and the New West Police Service is doing the Police Act investigation. And they want access to, the Police Complaint Commissioner wants to be able to look at the files that New West is looking at. That is the disclosure. I guess I know this gets complicated, but the disclosure to the Police Complaint Commissioner is being controlled by an order of the Supreme Court. So the various lawyers went forward and got a consent order from a judge saying, here's what New West gets, here's what the Police Complaint Commissioner gets from the records that Vancouver has, because they did the criminal investigation. The Police Complaint Commissioner is frustrated with that order that his council consented to about 8 months ago, and has requested a change in that order, which we have no problem with. That's in front of a judge, and we expect at some point they will come up with a new order and he'll get more disclosure. It has nothing to do with whether we're refusing to provide records. So you need to look at the words carefully there. He is saying, in fact, there's administrative problems. So I'm going to turn it back to Ian.
John was next, and then Eric after that.
I'm just wondering, Chief, with respect to those files, the actual criminal files that the APD drug squad worked off, the members who were assisting the drug squad worked off, the search warrants that were issued, are any of these files in jeopardy? Are there a lot of files in jeopardy with respect to
right.
court challenges?
Yeah, fair question. The preservation of the integrity of the criminal justice system is foremost in our minds. And so we are not proceeding on trials where there are allegations or concerns. And that has been dealt with for the most part. There's very little left. One of the things I'll say about Nicholson is we went back and disclosed every file that he'd ever been involved with to Crown Counsel and made sure that they were aware of that. Any of these other files, while our members are under investigation, we're not putting them forward. Very possible that these matters, when the members have been cleared, will be brought before the justice system again. But while we're going through this, members aren't doing these kind of investigations. We're not putting them before the courts.
So how many files might be involved?
I don't know the answer off the top of my head. It's certainly not impacting our ability to keep the city safe. It's in the handfuls. 10, 20 files perhaps that we've had to delay.
So what you would do is you would inform Crown and
absolutely
say maybe we should put a stay on this, and who
yep.
knows, 6 months from now.
Absolutely. The fact that we're dealing with Police Act investigations and I haven't come forward and explained all of this to you in the media is the way I believe it ought to be done. But all of these matters are being brought before Federal Crown and other responsible members of the judiciary, and making sure that we are doing the right thing in every step. We are not trying to skate on thin ice in relation to how our members are doing matters before the courts. We have been completely open with them about these issues and are working with them. These are agreed responses to how we will deal with them.
Do you have a frustration that some of these files have been put on hold in the sense of any dangers or complications that may arise?
Worried that was going to happen? Yes. Feeling that it has happened? No. So we're doing okay.
Going to go to Eric and then over to Kevin.
Chief, you seem to be kind of minimizing what the issues are here, that it's involving crossing T's and dotting I's and maybe how you handle informants. But I mean, quoting from the OPCC's news release, they talk about like a sweeping investigation into serious allegations against members of the APD, including allegations of corrupt practice, deceit, and neglect of duty.
Right.
This doesn't sound like crossing T's and dotting I's.
Right. So a member who doesn't put into an information to obtain that the suspect had a conviction for a certain matter because that member may or may not have not realized that conviction existed or didn't believe he had to put it in, that now is an allegation of deceit. And so I have a view that member likely made a mistake. The police complaint commissioner has a view that the member did something deceitful. We disagree on that point.
You say it's a bit overblown then?
My view, as I look at the facts and all of those things, is that there's quite a few members who will be found to have committed, perhaps they neglected their duty in the sense that they made mistakes they should have been more careful about. That is a neglect of duty. I expect some of that at the end of this. And is it possible there will be some deceits? Yeah, it's possible. Are the kind of numbers that were being talked about here? I don't believe that's a fair sort of example of what's actually going to be the outcome here.
Go over to Kevin here.
Is this a witch hunt by the OPCC against you and against the police department?
No. I'm sure the OPCC, the Police Complaint Commissioner, is doing what he believes is the right thing at every step along the way here. I'm just presenting the Abbotsford Police Department's view of this. He needs to clear the air, initiate and ensure investigations on all matters are conducted. I am running a police service and need to assess whether or not I can trust these members and decide whether they stay on the street, and I've done that. And so I have a view of the allegations because I needed to have a view of the allegations and understand how serious these matters are. He has a different role, and he will carry out his function, and I'm telling you I'm doing mine, and we are making sure that the right people are on the street and the citizens of Abbotsford are being treated and responded to by members who have professional conduct and who are the right people who can look after their issues.
We're going to go to Grant and then we'll go to John next.
Just for some background, can you comment on the nature or degree of involvement that the 16 other officers had with the incident that led to charges against Constable Nicholson?
No, I am not able to do that. I will say that some of them are people that worked in with him, and some of them had nothing to do with working with him and are simply people that had their files audited. So there's a mix.
So some of the investigations came just because the investigation started with Nicholson and expanded to audits of other
Absolutely.
cases?
Yeah, this has been a very, we have looked, as I said, the spotlight has been huge, and which is not a bad thing, but it's really does have its impact to be looking at every file very closely.
John and then Scott, and then we'll work back on this side again.
Chief, what percentage of the Abbotsford Police Force is 17 members?
Well, we have about 220 police officers here, and you can do the math because I'm not capable when there's a podium in front of me like this.
So do you think this is a case, what I'm hearing from you,
For a member to have done. But if you mistakenly do it, then because you don't believe the case law requires that particular matter to be put before the judge, then that's a matter of training. If you mistakenly do it because you should have found it and failed to maybe go back and check your records more fully, that's neglect.
So it's your estimation, though, when you've looked at these 16, that it was mistakes, not deceit?
I am saying, obviously I can't comment on every allegation against every police officer. I am seeing a tremendous amount of those kinds of issues, in my belief, about the allegations that are being made against the members. How it will all shake down remains to be seen. But that is part of what's going on here, absolutely.
Scott and then Eric.
You said you were surprised this morning, as these are not often put out in the media. Why do you believe the OPCC sent this out today?
You're going to have to ask him. I think he's frustrated with the lack of disclosure as being one significant reason. That appears to be what's in the document. But
You said that's not lack of disclosure for you guys.
correct, it's not.
And Eric.
You mentioned a minute ago, sorry, I missed this comment, that you felt that Abbotsford Police could have done a better job. Can you elaborate on that? Just a better job in terms of what?
This is a complex area of the law with lots of risks, informant handling, and I could have made sure our members had more up-to-date training and tighter procedures for them to operate in an area where there is risk. And for that, I apologize to the members of the Abbotsford Police Department and to the fact that we're going through this. We could have done a better job there, and I wish we had.
I know you're saying that these members remain at work at this point, but have you given any thought to resigning over something like this? It's a big black eye at this point for the force.
Oh, well, no, I haven't. I haven't.
Are we good?
I think that's good.
We'll give Vicky one shot.
Vicky.
What would you like to say to the people of Abbotsford who believe that this maybe further tarnishes Abbotsford's reputation based on some past experiences?
Well, I'll say this. I don't think it further tarnishes us because I don't think our image is tarnished. The policing is a tough business. You will have things go wrong in this business. If you think it's all going to go perfect, you're going to ask us to go into explosive situations, difficult situations, to be under tremendous stress and never have something go wrong. That's not a reasonable expectation for the community. I don't think it is the community's expectation. What the community expects from us is that when we make mistakes, we own up. When we found there was a problem, we did something. We have asked for audit. We have completely cooperated with the Police Complaint Commissioner, ensuring that all our members' conduct is being looked at. We are doing everything we need to do to maintain the confidence of the public. When we found there was a problem, we responded. And to me, that's what the community should ask of us, is that we take responsibility for mistakes, we take responsibilities for misconduct, and that we move on in keeping this place safe.
Can I just ask one other follow-up? Just when you're talking about disclosure and saying the frustration, it seems that's where this is coming from. Is there anything you can do when you're saying you're not withholding anything? Is there anything you can do to help that issue along?
The right place for this to be resolved is in the court. And there is a hearing coming up, and I wish for that to go ahead as quickly as it can.
Thanks, Ian.
Anything else happening today?
I don't think so.
That's pretty much it.
No. In fairness, most